Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Having your gang. This is me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman with the Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. And today we've been joined by John Collins, who is men's physique, British champion, world champion, and amateur Olympia. I think I've got that right.
Yeah,
But
it is right, isn't
oh, bloody hell, I've been sweating about that.
it? No sweat.
But we've had him on today because he's done so well. And if I'm not mistaken, you started it at the age of 40 and you've achieved what most people won't achieve in a lifetime. But this is only one part of John. And it's what get people on. Say, yes, he's done well in this, but that isn't just who he is. He's a father, he's a man, he's a worker, he's a gentleman. I mean, I've only got to know him over the last couple of weeks and instantly we gelled because he's got the same moral compass as I have. So, John, thank you for coming on, bruv. And tell us about your journey.
Well, where should we start? Well, I'm from Pensnet, locally to us all. Grew up around here. Had a lot of friends from went to school. Went to Pensnet school. I've got into training from the age of 23. There was a bit of a backstory why I got into training. I've got like a million and one stories about myself, but there was I'll just jump forward and say there was a point where I actually got stabbed when I was about 18, 19, and from there went back into my shed a little bit. My uncle, who's a big role model to me, advised me to start doing some training as such. Started doing press ups at home and doing dips off the counter in my nan's kitchen, and then it went from there where people started noticing the way I was looking. Then I started heading to the gym by the age of 23. So I've trained from the age of 23 up until present day. I've had quite a few people say to me, "Have I got the competition, competition, that kind of thing?" But it was never for me at that time. Reach the age of 40, decided to give it a go. I actually didn't start off doing bodybuilding. I actually started off doing it was called model search. So I had a go at that, which was basically around a physique and the way that we looked. Got into the finals of that, and on the same weekend in Birmingham, I entered the PCA men's physique and got third place. And got third place in my first competition. So from there, it's kind of snowballed. From there, which kind of boosted my confidence a bit more, and I've just been going on since then. So I've done my third place in that year. Then I've done third place in the British the same year in October. Then the year after, then I've won various competitions. But while I've been doing, it's been a bit of a crusade. As I was doing it, I felt like I've got more to offer. Because a lot of people say to me, "How do you do it?" or "How did you get to where you got to?" or "How did you reach this point?" So when people realise there's a bit of a story behind it, because I didn't actually realise myself, telling people where I've come from and what I did was a pretty much a big backstory behind it. So they were quite intrigued and quite interested. So from there, we've gone from training to gym, and then now I'm doing mentoring, I'm doing coaching, I'm doing clothing lines. Pretty much everything I can get my fingers into at this moment in time, really.
And that's what we've got to do in it, mate, because we can settle, which is all right for some people, or you can strive to be better. And you know, in your field, on about the modelling and the bodybuilding and performing, I bet, because I see it so much in the boxing world of when people think of body dysmorphia, they think of it mainly being in women and how we look and my boobs too small. But it happens in your game, I imagine, so much, doesn't it?
Oh
My lats
yeah,
aren't this, my deltoids aren't this. And
yes, massively, massively. Over the years, I've paid a lot of attention because when you go to myself, because I've told, if you know me, like people, I always tell these people all the time, but I'm very interested within people. I love like different aspects of people and what they like and what they don't like and what they say, like, and like a lot of it correlates to how like they're feeling and what they carry within them. Within the gym game, and when you go like when you're within gyms, there is always someone who wants bigger arms, bigger chest, bigger shoulders, and whatever, and they strive for that, but then they get to a stage where they're never happy. Or the stage can start from the very beginning, because like in the very beginning you want to be somewhere, then you're not happy, then you concentrate so much on it. But it within, I say, with guys, it starts off, oh, I just want to put a bit more size on, and then when they stop, then they lose a size. It's all within the language which I hear within the gym or within the circuit. You can see that like it bugs and bothers people to in an unhealthy way. Sometimes I've seen where people can be, or I say some of the guys, they can be so obsessed in getting a certain look, and then when they don't achieve that look, they'll look at someone else and say, "Oh, I need to be more like that." But it can be an unhealthy thing if it's not really tackled. But like, I think within gyms and whatever, in most male gyms or places we go to, it's not really discussion. It's because everyone seems to be going back and forth with the same language. Like you could ask three guys and like they're all complaining about calves, chest or shoulders, or someone's always got something to complain about, but it just seems quite normalized. That's where I've looked and I thought that's not normal. That isn't like normal for someone not to be so you know, they're not happy with themselves at any given time. So when
do you think, John,
when do you actually stop?
sorry,
when do you stop?
do you think sometimes this is
No,
what leads to men taking steroids?
Yes, I would say so. Yes, because the fact of the matter is, like I've had numerous conversations over the years where people say, "Oh, you must have had some of this," or you might. I'm like, no, I'm like, I hate to like use the term like, "Oh, we've got like good genetics," but I do have decent genetics within my family. But also, I've got like a strong. Looking back now, I've had like a really strong work rate. So when someone starts at the gym today and they look at someone who's like me, that if they catch me in competition mode, looking the way that I do, all shredded or like abs and everything showing, they're like, I want that, but they don't want it. They don't want to know when I tell them it's taken years of building on. They want it straight away. So this is where a lot of it starts, I believe. Wanting to get to that point quickly.
Everyone wants to be the master of enterprise, but doesn't want to sweep up hair, do they?
No, not at all. Not at all. I see it's almost like a conveyor belt. Like a young lad will come in, he'll see the bigger guys, then he'll say, right, I need to be like that. Whenever I chat to one of the young guys in the gym, I always like to say to him, just build on what you have, because taking like steroids or whatever you're going to take is going to force the way that you look straight away, but it's not anything which you can naturally keep. So that's when they balloon up and down, and this is like where I believe some of the body dysmorphia kicks in. So like they'll have a few jabs, then they'll get big, then they'll stop, and then they'll go down, and then they'll get compliments when they're big, not so much when they're small, and it's a really, really crazy cycle.
Well, I've got a saying in the gym, and I would say, you've got to realise what dog you are. Some of you are going to be staffies, some of you are going to be springers, whippets, some of you are going to be Great Danes, but a whippet can't be a Great Dane. And there's nothing wrong with being a whippet. You're a fast little bugger, but you can't be that Great Dane. That Great Dane can't be that staffy. You are what you are, so we've got to work at your strengths, be you a runner, a puncher, a slipper, or that dog who just gets into the mix.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. but a lot of like guys, or even with girls too, they need to kind of understand this, that like we are all built very, very differently.
Yeah.
So you can have someone who is very symmetrical and everything fits right, or you can have someone who is like more stronger on legs, top half not so defined, or stronger on the top half, and so on and so forth. But you have to understand. I generally see that people aren't taking the time out to really fully understand themselves firstly and foremost. There would be an expert in someone else, or there'll be an expert on the way that someone else looks, but they won't take the time out to really study themselves, what they need to do, and like where their strengths and weaknesses lie.
I think it's hard sometimes to self-evaluate yourself, though, isn't it? Or when you do, you concentrate too much on the negative, which
Yes.
then can make you not want to look at the positive at all.
Yeah, I think it's almost like natural human nature to give ourselves a hard time. We'll always say how bad this is that looks on us, and we're not happy with this on us. We're not happy with that. But if you can think back at a conversation you've had with anyone over the years, and when they will say they are happy with what they have. I'm happy with the way that this looks. I'm happy with this. It's very, very rare. It's very, very rare, and it's a point which it's taken me up until I'm 43 years old now, and it's taken me up until the last 2 years for me to appreciate myself and say I'm happy with everything which I've got. And then I'll tell someone this and they'll say, yeah, but it's okay for you. I'm like, well, what do you mean it's okay for me? It's not okay for me. It's the fact I've reached a point where I'm happy with me, and it's not just physical. You have to be happy internally and mentally first, and then from there you work outwards.
Well, I have that I have that conversation a lot, and I go, "Well, it's all right for you, Kev." And I went, "Hang on, you're seeing Kev now. You didn't see Kev 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's taken me a lifetime to get where I am at this moment."
Oh yeah, I mean, it's, as I say, like it takes time, but most I can't speak for all, but there's a lot of people who want like that instant. That instant gratification, or that instant thing. But like you're gonna have to ultimately put work. You're gonna have to put the work in, and you're gonna have to say to yourself, well, this is not this. You can't be like there is no such thing as the short haul in any of this. What you want to do, it's always you have to build. It's a compound effect. You have to keep on building on top until you have like a decent structure, and you build so on and so forth.
And like with yourself, like we talked on the phone the other day, and this bit of self-peace that you've got now, do you think it's maturity, or is it partly being a daddy now?
It started well. I've got this thing. Some guys may not agree, but I always like to say that between men and women, I think as men we grow up like a little bit later than women do. And I had my son at the age of 30, and he made me make a little jump. I didn't make the biggest jump, but like I made a jump of being responsible. But I still wasn't where I am now for it. So I would say, like, as the years and time's gone by, I'm very self-critical. I'm always like prodding and poking myself to see how I base a lot on feelings, not so much on look. I don't really like look at myself in any sort of way, but like it's just the way that I feel about something. So I would say over time, when something happens, I'll learn from it. I don't ever see that anything in my saying is like nothing bad ever happens. Something things happen. Don't call it bad or good. It's just something that happens. If it's something that's good, you'll say, okay, you put it into your memory box and you say, I will continue to use this because it's something good. If it's something bad, you can draw it back and say, I don't want that to happen again. But what were the steps before that thing which we so-called bad happened? So I think I've done like a lot of that and a lot of soul searching over the time. So I would say, like, yeah, the age thing does come into it as well.
I think that's great what you said, because I was talking to someone the other day and they said that it's out of something that happens to you, only 10% of what actually happens matters. It's the 90% of how you deal with that good or bad thing happening.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I think a perfect example is it's been like a couple of months now, because that's my other job. What I do, like I deliver cars, I'm driving around all day. I was driving down, it's hammering down with rain. Because like I have to, I've got like I choose mechanisms. I use mechanisms for absolutely everything within myself. So I'm driving across the motorway. A lorry pushed me into like a massive puddle. I aquaplaned. It cracked my window screen, ripped off my exhaust. I had to pull over to the side. It was hammering down with rain. I'm lying underneath my truck. Then another truck drives past me, splashes dirt and mud and all sorts in my face. I lose my money at my pockets. I'm rolling around in the wet, and like I'm just chuckling to myself. I'm actually finding it quite funny, as where I know a lot of people will be going absolutely berserk. But I'm like, well, what I say to myself, well, the chances of this happening again tomorrow is very, very slim. And while it's happening right now, let's just have a laugh about it, because like if I'm going to get angry, there's no one to either share the anger with. And even if I do, it's like, what can anyone do? Whatever has been done has been done. So it's about like, you know, as I say, that's pretty much my mechanism, just like laugh at things. I may seem like I'm a bit crazy sometimes, but it definitely works for me.
And I think you've got to find your medicine, haven't you?
Yes, most definitely.
Because for those people who don't know, we're going to share it on our page later. But you had an interview on the BBC recently, haven't you?
Yes.
Would you like to go into that, mate?
Right. There's at the moment, I think like you have to be underneath a rock to know what's going on. We've got like the COVID-19 stuff going on. There's like lots of bits and pieces in the news about other stuff here and there. And there's like the next big thing at the moment is with the Black Lives Matter. And I basically have like lots of strong conversation with some like good friends of mine, some good people. And a friend of mine said to me, what do you think about this situation? And I'm like, well, you know what I kind of think. I've spoke to you about this kind of stuff way before any of this is happening, and he's like, my friend's got like a good understanding of what I mean. So I didn't want to he said to me like, I think you should do a video. And I thought about it, and I thought about it for days, and I kept on like saying to myself, right, I'm gonna do a video like this. And then like, I think I must have deleted about say 15, 20 these videos I started, because like I felt there wasn't like coming from the heart, they weren't real. There was like I was trying to orchestrate something. So basically I've done like an 18-minute video explaining about where I come from, what I dealt with as a young black kid in my area on my own growing up, and again using the word mechanisms on what I've had to do to endure, because like I've endured racism for like the whole of my life. But the base of it was that like I'm still friends with a lot of those guys and a lot of those girls on Facebook, regardless to how like they treated me when they were younger. So in my eyes, I believe that I don't think that they're racist people, because if I still see a lot of these people out and about, and we like laugh and we joke, and like, and I'll always stop and say hello, and you know, we just chit chat and talk about like the old days. But it was just more of a coming from an angle of trying to educate people to stop with like certain ways that they have. Well, not just say stop with certain ways they have, just go and speak to someone who looks like me and try and get a form of like education on what that person knows. Because like me as a black man, I know what I've been through, and I know what other black people have been through. But if you're a non-black person, I don't believe you fully understand the experience. And there's been like people missing. Sometimes there were a lot of people missing like the big picture of like the Black Lives Matter, and it wasn't just about the guy who got killed. It's about like the way that like black people have been treated overall, and over like space of years and time, and even till this very day. But I realised that my way, which I had, was I couldn't keep on fighting with these guys who were racially abusing me all the time, or saying little things to me all the time, because I mean I'd be physically fighting every day. So rather than being rather than retaliating, I started just being just super nice to these people, to the point where my super niceness kind of rubbed out anything that they had to throw at me. So it was like they threw something and I just shielded it, and then I was like, where do you go from here now? Because like, I'm not going to retaliate. I'm not going to say this and say that the other, or we're not going to get to an argument about it. So, and basically the video is about me saying to people, just have conversations, speak to people that you know. And I don't believe that everyone is racist, but there are people who do like racist actions and things, but they may not realize it. But like, it's, you know, if you ask someone of a colour, they will explain to you why what they might say may be deemed as offensive.
I've watched the video, and it's so worth everyone giving a listen to, because it was great. You know, people from our neck of the woods, like, people know my wife's mixed race and my best friends in the world. But even I felt racism, because when you love someone, you feel their pain. But I don't understand it as well as my wife does, because the name's been called at her, even though it's hurt me physically. Because when you love someone, you feel their pain. And that's why we did an episode with Quinton, who a lifelong best friend, Pete, Josh, who's coming on next week, and Aaron. And I for once in my life, I kept my mouth shut and I leaned back and let people talk about it. Because I think if we're not having a conversation, how can people understand it?
And that's the thing. I'm a great believer in that. Within a conversation, you can get so much, but a conversation works both ways. It's not about me talking at someone and telling someone. It's about, like, I've got this saying where I don't talk at people. I just present what I've got, and like, whenever I present what I've got, I just put it down on the table and say, well, it's up to you. This is what I'm presenting, and take a look. If you don't want to take a look, well, there's nothing I can really do about that, and I can't get myself agitated about it. And this was probably the reason why I've done the video, because I didn't want to do like a video where I'm pointing my finger and telling people. I'm just like saying, I'm just presenting something, and if you know me, you'll understand that, like, there are other good guys and good girls like me of my colour, and we're getting a bad rap for maybe one or a few other people who've gone a certain way. So like, there is bad in Chinese, Asian, white, doesn't matter where you go. But what we're trying to say is anything which like a black person might have done, everyone's getting like kind of labelled the same way, and we're saying that's not fair, because like, we can't label every white person for, if you have like a mass serial killer, we can't say every white person's that kind of person, or if there's a mass serial killer within the Asian community, Chinese community, Italian community. But it's just the way that like we're being kind of represented isn't like too great. But I suppose like, when you're not in those shoes, you don't really see that.
John, I think, sorry, Kev. John, for me personally, I think I see it, but I wouldn't say I understand it. As in, you know, because I don't go through it, basically. You know, it's, and I think it's a very hard conversation as a white person to have. I suppose without you don't want to be accused of being a racist, whether, you know, especially if you don't feel you are, and that kind of, you know, you don't want to have been accused of it. And that's what makes a conversation as a white person, I think, hard to have.
Yeah, I believe so, because like I've got like a whole multitude of like different friends and backgrounds and whatever, and I can see where it can be awkward, because it's almost like it's like an eggshells kind of thing, where you kind of because at one time you didn't have to talk about it, you didn't have to bring it up, because you know, it's whatever. It's just, you know, it
was the norm as such, wasn't it? Which is, yeah.
Yes.
But just because it was the norm doesn't make it right.
Oh no, it definitely doesn't.
No. But I think if we can have these conversations, and sometimes when facts, figures, statistics, and experience come into it, it might make people uncomfortable. But
But
we should be felt uncomfortable. We've got to start talking, because if we don't talk about it, then it won't get better.
in truth, Kev, I think for me, it's on people who aren't black to have the conversation now, because
Yeah.
black people have been representing it for years, and although it's got better, it's still not where it should be. So
Precisely.
we've got to jump in basically and help that along, so more
Yeah,
people listen.
yes, yeah, and you're right. I think we've, like, as black people, we've been saying it for so long, but it's like there was a point in the video I said, well, imagine saying something for so long and it's being completely ignored, to the point where you're like, there's no point me saying this no more, because no one's really listening. So I'm just going to crack on with it and keep on taking whatever I'm going to take. But like now we're at the stage where I do believe it shouldn't be our conversation anymore. It should be like for non-black people to say, well, hold on, they've been saying this for years. It's not just like for yesterday, or just because like they may have been a bit angry about something. They've been saying it for years and years and years. So let's have a look at what we may or may not have been doing, and then start a conversation.
Yeah.
And then from that conversation, you can get so much. But it's, as I say, it's a two-way street where we both talk. I say my piece, or whoever says their piece, and you'll say yours, and we listen, and we just try and be on a level, without it being like all heated and people trying to get their agenda across or whatever. Because so everyone has got their own opinions, which is perfectly fine. That's the way it should be. But the thing about with your opinions, it's like you have to remember that they're yours, and like you may be shared opinions with like many other people, but because your opinion is shared with 50 or 60 or 70, doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. It just means that like you have all got the same belief. So that's how it just starts from a conversation.
Do you think it was down to this that you got into slamming the weights?
It's quite bizarre, really, because I got into the weights because this is the thing. That's like when I got attacked in Pensnet, and it was by a white guy who got slashed on my hand, and I was quite young when it happened. And because the guy we were at a park, and the guy was drinking a bit, and then like he was waving a knife back, and like I put my hand up, and like he cut me across my hand. And I think at that time I didn't know. I wouldn't have said, oh, that was racially motivated or not. It was just in my head, this guy done this to me, and whatever happened. Fast forward years later, when I was 18, when I actually got stabbed by some guys again, and it just sounds weird that like I'm always around guys who've got knives and whatever, but like I've always been a very kind of quiet guy, and I keep myself to myself. But I think when I got attacked like the second time, it was because of like the way that I was dressed, and like my uncle at the time used to own a jewelry store. I used to go to work with him every weekend, and so I'd have like jewelry on, and I was walking around like a bloody Christmas tree. And that was and I was it's like I was very naive and just very oblivious, not realizing that like from an early age my work ethic was very different like to other people of my age. So when I used to see things, I knew that I could have to go to work every weekend, wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, go to it with my uncle, stand in the market stall, like sun, shine, snow, whatever, and then earn what I need to earn. And this was the thing which kind of nearly got me to took my life. So like, some guys came for me, but like I didn't have all my jewelry on that day, and like they attacked me, and that was the realization that like this actually happened in Dudley by the Lamp Tavern.
Oh,
yeah. It's actually by the Lamp Tavern, but I think it was from then I realised that the world wasn't always going to be a place where I could use my certain mechanisms that I have, because like if someone's coming for you or someone could do something to you, that's what they'll do. So it really shook me. It shook me up. And I say at the time, my uncle, he's passed away now, but like most people in the area would know my uncle because like they always like say he was a handy guy, meaning that like he could look after himself. He wasn't a bully. He wasn't somebody who threw his weight around. He was like he was a very kind of family orientated guy and like looked out for people. But I always kind of felt safe knowing that he was around. But like I remember it after it happened, he saying to me, well, like he had like a bit of a go at me. He said, well, what are you doing, like, you know, walking around with all that sort of jewelry on anyway? And you know that I'll look out for you, but like I'm not going to be there for you all the time, which is quite bizarre because like years later, when he was 37, he passed away. But before then, we just started doing press-ups and training at home. But it wasn't for the fact of train to get big so I can scare people. I just used it as like an outlet. And as I'm training, I didn't really think about like the way what I was looking, what I was going to do with it, or whatever. So it wasn't a conscious decision to get into training. It was just something which I kind of fell into, and I've got these personalities where I'll start something, and I just have to go all in. So it just became part of my routine. So it wasn't for any particular reason why I started training, but yeah, that was it really.
But isn't it funny, that same work ethic that could get you all the jewels and everything is what's pushed you through to winning all these titles now? Because
Yes.
that's what it is. It's all down to that mental strength, isn't it? 'Cause there's so many people who go, I could do this, but I can't be asked. Or I would love to do this, but John's down the park or Kev's up the pub. And it's up to you to go, well, leave John down the park and Kev in the pub. I'm going to go and do this.
Because I've thought about this quite a lot, because whichever way we are now, I believe a lot of it is stemmed from our childhood. Mm-hmm. So I believe that a lot of my childhood, as much as like I went around with friends, I've always felt alone. So when you've got like a group of friends and you all look the same, you all do like a lot of the same things, but I always felt like I was on the outside of every kind of like friendship group or around people. As much as like I was like kind of included, I always felt like I was just obviously in Penn's net as the black kid. I was definitely on the outside, even though like I had good friends and like they included me with things. I just never felt really fully 100% accepted, and I couldn't say all the things that they said. Like they had the novelty to laugh and joke and take the mick out of someone, as like guys and bands should do, but I was like, I don't want to do that just in case it upsets someone. So I've always had this thing where I've been on my own. So when you're on your own and you don't have any inside like influences, it's a lot easier for you to carry on doing what you need to do. So with the training, with me like learning myself how to ride a bike or skateboarding, all these things were just things which I done on my own. So it was, I think it's partially, you know, down to that in my what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like from my early age, that's been part of me, of just doing things on my own, and there's no one to say, are you going to stop now, or is that enough? I'm just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. So I think
that's remarkable what you've just said, because I imagine there's so many people can identify that, and maybe before you've said it, didn't realise they could identify with it, because you've used that experience as a strength, whereas so many people who I've met across my life would have used that as a hindrance.
I've got this knack. I was telling you the story about like obviously being like getting soaked underneath a truck and whatever not. But I do realise I have this knack of turning things. It's almost like I'm a bit selfish in a way. Where I'm like, if something is harsh or something deems to be like it's going to hold me down, I'm like, right, I'm going to turn this into what I want. So I want to use it for me. So you put anything bad on me, I want to spin it back around and use it for me. So like I'm very kind of resourceful in that way. So I will use anything deemed as bad into good. I'll deem anybody like who's against me, and I'll use that for. It's almost like I use it as fuel. I use anything which is deemed as bad luck or wrong or whatever as fuel, and I don't know where that came from, but I'd say I do believe there's something from when I was younger, but that's what I generally do. So I don't really see anything as bad. I'll just turn it all into stuff which I can use for myself.
And I think that's what the difference between being a runner-up and a champion does, isn't it? Like with this lockdown at the moment, when I go back to the gym, I'll see the boys and the girls the ones who have been trying the best, even though they haven't got anything, are training every day, doing the press ups, doing a run, and the kids who just haven't been asked.
Yeah, because like even I would say like even within this lockdown, I will say that like with the first couple of weeks, I found it hard, and like I went through like a bit of a stage where I'm like, because this is something new to us all. There is not one person who is here today who's like dealt with, unless like you're like an older generation like from the war, and you've had to like deal with like like bombings and like being sent to like different countries, that kind of thing. We will never experience, and just like there's people who've never experienced what's going on right now. So first couple of weeks I found it hard. I was down, and like I didn't speak to people, and like most people just think, oh, John's strong, he's cool, he's he's got all this sussed, but I did not have it sussed. I was like in a real downward place. There's only like a few people that know. Like I don't mind. No, I don't mind telling people, but I was in that place where I was like, what do I do? But like it took me a few weeks to kind of level out and realise that hold on, we're all in the same place. We can't all be whinging, because like I don't like to be. I've got a saying which is like, if it's worth whinging about, it's worth fixing.
Yeah.
So I always say if it's worth whinging about, it's worth fixing. So I found myself with my inner whinge going on. So I'm like, okay, what am I start doing? So I started jumping on the bike, on my mountain bike, and doing like a few miles, me and my son. And then before, as I said, this addictive thing came in. Before I was doing like 14 miles a day on my bike. And like I realised that I couldn't get up without doing it. Then I was doing 40 miles, and 40 was turning into 30 miles a time. And then the more I was experiencing outdoor, I was thinking, okay, I've gained something else from this. So I wouldn't have done this on a normal occasion. Started training a bit more, started feeling good within myself. And then I believe that when you I believe in manifestation. I believe in like the more you do good and like the more you think about things positively, other things will start like to come on top as well and start to join. So within that time, I had someone just call me out the blue, say to me, John, how are you getting on with your lockdown? Because I know that you train all the time. I'm like, well, I've been biking, but I've got like a few bits at home, but I don't really feel motivated to train at home. So this guy said to me, he said, listen, I've got a gym at this place here. I don't really use it. If you want to go there and train at any given time, you can do. And I was like, this is like a godsend. I couldn't believe my ears. So like I've headed there. I've got like a full gym to myself to use, and then from there, once I started training back again, my brain started working again. Bam, 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 bam. Like my ideas started coming back, and then like I've started like to. So all in all, what I'm saying is like while this has gone on and lockdown's gone on, it's given me a lot of time. I start to like meditate more, start to relax more, and my ideas are coming back. And it's actually done me. It's actually done me wonders. This lockdown has. So I wouldn't really see it as a bad thing.
So with all this now, you're back on form and everything. What are you doing now? Are you doing public speaking, or are you just doing the coaching? Tell us about the next step of John.
Then right, I've done like a couple of the public speaking. Like which is still quite amazing me now, because like if you knew me from younger, I used to have like a lisp and a stammer, and like, this is one of the things that people sometimes take the mick out of. And I was very kind of I was a very shy person, didn't really want to speak out. Now I'm at the stage where you just can't shut me up. So I've got all these years of just being quiet. So I actually told someone once about my story, and like I didn't really see it as a story. I said, well, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened, and now I'm here. And they're like, well, that's amazing. So they said you should go and speak. So I got actually invited to go and speak on. It was like for the mind, for mental health, and explaining to people that, like, obviously what I'd gone through, it was like a form of like a form of like distress, and like it was like a form of like mental health which I'd gone through. So I started doing like little. I started off with like a little half an hour. It was like a 20-minute chat, and I was absolutely crapping myself.
You have, knowing you, mate. When you first do it, you're thinking, "Oh my god."
Yeah. I remember getting there in the morning and thinking to myself, I need to make an excuse to make me sound like I'm really sick.
Yeah.
So it's like, but like if you've ever done anything like that before, like it's the most like gut wrenching thing in your life, and I'm like, but lo and behold, the morning went on, got in there, done it, and like I had a really, really good response from it. And like as I say, like I always base things from the feeling. So the feeling what I got from people coming to me and saying, you know what, yeah, your story was amazing, and like, you know what, I can relate to it and all that kind of thing. So I've just started doing a bit more from there. So I've gone into a couple of schools to talk and tell them about like where I've come from and what I do, and like how I'm achieving stuff now. And that's what I'll be doing more of in the future, and also with like doing like some mentoring with like youth mentoring, because someone said to me, so well, why do you think you're qualified to talk to anybody about what you do? I said, well, because I've been there. I've been at like both. I've been at both sides. So. And when I got asked that question, it made me a bit more passionate to know that when I actually said it out loud, I'm like, yeah, I have been there. I can tell you my story, and it's like I'm full of sayings. And I always like to say, with the ingredients, what has been thrown into the bowl of John Collins, I should not have had such a good tasting cake at the end of it. So, yeah, so that's the reason why I say like I'm doing more what I'm doing. So like mentoring, coaching, PTing. I'm going to be trying to step back away from the driving what I do, because I say I've been working myself 14 years as well now. And that's like another thing which I just never really. There's a lot of things that I do I just never really remember until someone reminds me. So I'm not really one for telling people about what I do and whatever else. I'll just go day by day, and everything is always behind me. So every once in a while, I have to go back and go, hold on, yeah, I forgot about this as well, and this and this. So that's what I'll be doing more of: clothing line, PT, coaching, boot camps. I've got 10 fingers. There's 8 fingers in there. I've got 2 spare to go in anywhere else.
World domination.
Yes, we'll give it a go. We'll give it a good go.
But this is why I love having people you on, John, because people will see someone who looks like you in this physique, and I want everyone out there who's listening now, no matter how you look, no matter how confident you make out, we've all had our problems, and I think by having brave people come on like yourself, it's knocking down the walls of this bullshit of I'm alone and I'm the only person, because we're not alone, gang. And by having these conversations, hopefully we're just going to make it a better tomorrow. So, John, I'm going to advertise our next guest now. Unless there's anything else you both want to say. Is there anything else you want to say, or Lee, is there anything you want to ask John?
I'd just like, John, thank you for coming on. And I think it's really important for people to hear that, because you're obviously a positive person and have had a credible life, but to hear that you still get your downtime, like when you were in lockdown the first few weeks, you had that downtime where things didn't seem quite so positive. Everyone goes through this, but I think sometimes you can look at people and go, well, he's just happy all the time. But that's not always the case, is it? And you coming on and saying and telling people, look, this is it. This is how it works. You're not always going to be there. You're not always going to be 100%, but you can get back to there. I think that's really important. So thank you for that story.
That's not a problem at all. That's one thing I will say is that, because like I am on my social media like quite heavy, and like, and people will see my smiling face, or they'll see me putting like a positive quote. But I think the one thing I would always like to say to people that, like, don't take anything from what you see from someone's social media as gospel, because my saying is a picture only takes less than a second to take. You can be whatever you want to be within that less than a second, and it doesn't always tell the true story of like what's behind. So this is why I believe conversations face to face, or even just like via video or whatever, is very, very important for everyone to have at some point or another. It's just say, don't take pictures and what you see on someone's social media as gospel, because like I could have had like, you know, like I put a great picture up today, but you may not have known that like earlier on I felt like really down and I felt really, really bad. But like this is the thing, this is the stigma we need to try and get through with guys and some people, that like you need like to talk to someone. And like I always thought I didn't need to speak to anybody, but obviously I do, and like it does help, and like it helps like to you know, even if you talk to someone who is not your direct friend, and I think that usually helps as well. Sometimes if you talk to your friend you've known for years and years, they know you from a certain era, they don't accept that like time's gone by and time's changed and things have changed. So go and talk to somebody else who is not your direct friend, but somebody who's got like a time to lend the ear and give you listen to you and give you, you know, like a reasonable feedback.
Thank you, John. Now, I'm just going to advertise next week's show. So if you can think of another saying, be great.
Mate, I've got 101 different sayings, and like now because you put me right on the spot, thanks, mate. I really appreciate this.
I'm just going to advertise next week. So while I'm advertising, have a little think.
Okay, no problem.
The next Tuesday, we're going to be joined by Josh Alexander. Now, he was on our Elephant in the Room podcast. He's going to be coming on. I think he was he a kickboxer, Lee? He was a kickboxer. And
yes,
then,
mate.
Because I still haven't watched his video yet, but I've got to watch it. It's on Find Your Voice, Josh Alexander. And he was on the cusp of greatness for kickboxing, and then through no fault of his own, come down with this illness. And it's showing how positive we can be, even when it looks like the world shut its door on us. So, John, over to you, bro, for your last quote.
I'd go back to, you know what, I still couldn't think, but I'll just go back to one which I know that I always use. If it's worth whinging about, it's worth fixing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So, gang, till we meet next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys. Super.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.